Watching the Braves is like watching a bad movie on Tubi.
This is Locked On Sports Atlanta, and it's time for the Atlanta Baseball Party, only on Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome into the Atlanta Baseball Party, your home for the best Atlanta Braves baseball talk. It's local insight you can't get anywhere but right here at Locked On. I'm your host, Tanitra Batiste. Alongside me are Jarvis Davis and Jake Mastriani. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. And of course, the Atlanta Baseball Party is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So the Braves are fighting for their playoff lives right now. We'll talk about that. And Chris Sale can do no wrong. We'll discuss. But first, let's get into the Braves hitting more long balls last night than they had in a combined 8 games in the month of September. So Jake, after being able to only muster up a couple hits in a makeup game against the lowly Cincinnati Reds, the Atlanta Braves went on the road, demolished the Washington Nationals 12-0 to get the win Tuesday, scoring 4 homers in the process. How do these 2 games kind of sum up or juxtapose the season for the Braves?
I don't know if they do. I think for the most part, you're used to what you've seen over the past week where it's, can you get to 3 runs in a game? And I think you just had a lot of batted ball luck that hasn't gone your way lately. It all just kind of justified itself in one game. And I think as Braves fan, you sit here and hope, okay, well, is that it now for the next week? Did we use all of our offense in one game?
I did think that.
But, they also got some help. There's 2 innings there where there was an error made and the Braves went on a run with 2 outs, which is great to see. Obviously, love to see that. But yeah, I mean, it's just good. I mean, it's in there. This team can do it. It's just been so frustrating because you'll see games like this, and we've even seen stretches like this where they'll go on a run. Before that Phillies series or in the middle of that Phillies series, they had a run of 5 games where they were scoring 4, 5, 6 runs per game. We just haven't seen it over long stretches this year. And we know it's a team that relies on the long ball and the extra base hits. You got that. It wasn't just the home runs. You had doubles in that inning where they really broke it open early in that 3rd inning. You had 3 doubles in a row from, Soler, from Matt Olson, from Ramon Laureano. So that's really what this team and a lot of teams in today's game strive on. It's that extra base hit ability, something that the Braves did so well last year. Obviously, a lot of injuries this year have limited that opportunity, but that's just something we saw a lot from them on Tuesday night. And you hope it's something that they can keep up with, but it's just not something we've seen them do consistently this season.
Exactly. And when you look at the games, kind of the Reds Monday, Nats Tuesday, the way that 1-0 loss went Monday, the way the 12-0 win went Tuesday, for you, Jarvis, how does it kind of sum up the season for the Braves?
It's like the movie that I've been watching, right? Like this has been a movie that has been a bad movie that we can't stop watching, right? Because my love for the Braves, and I talked about it a lot of times on this show, and just being a fan of them growing up, it's just so hard because, and I think the reason why it makes it so hard for me is because you're talking about the over 300 home runs last year, just mashing the balls, blowing teams out, and just making it look so easy. And then you just pose that to this year, and you think about, okay, Ronald Acuna goes down, cool. All right, I got you. You hated to see it like that, but we've seen this movie before. Hey, they've been able to come back, and people are able to step up in that role and be able to, go out and win a World Series specifically. So and then Spencer Strider and all that stuff. And then now you have some of those same guys who've been around. Now, granted, there's been a lot of injuries, but they have a hardcore lineup for a reason. Like they have multiple guys that can get it done, and we just didn't see that, and it's just been awful. And in the biggest moments too, right? Runners in scoring position, but to see what they're capable of against the Nationals, just like, man, stop teasing me. I'm almost like, Jake, don't score 12, give me about 4, and then save it for the next game.
Yeah, keep some in the holster. Yeah.
Right, so keep some in the chamber so we can kind of see if we can figure out how to get into this last wild card spot. So for me, I'm in the spot where this is something that I've been used to watching, and it's like you said, it's a bad movie. I can use an example of one of those movies on Tubi. Like, you know what? This movie is not good. Why am I still watching it? That's kind of how the Braves are for me. So it's a Tubi movie that I can't stop watching, and then And like I said, these past couple of games have been on right on brand with what we've been used to for the 2024 season.
Yeah, and I kind of looked at it like a weird symmetry, if you will, because it's like you look at the one run last night, and then you look at, or it's Monday night, if you will, and then you look at the 12 runs Tuesday, and you're like, okay, the Braves, a win Monday would have pushed the Braves to a season high 14 games over 500. And how many times have they gotten close to doing something where we're like, okay, that's it, they're turning the corner. But it was just one game that you didn't get. So instead, the Braves dropped to 4-4 in September. And I feel like, too, it was one of those where it was a wasted start of Charlie Morton on Monday. But then Tuesday, Ronaldo Lopez goes down after one inning. And then all of a sudden, it's like the pen comes in and pulls through. It's just the weirdness of like kind of, the symmetry of you need this one run to make it go to extras and maybe get a win against the Reds. But then you need this one win so you can get over 500. I mean, it's just some very weird symmetry that's been kind of going on with this team the entire season. And I felt like, yep, Monday, Tuesday was just kind of, I don't want to say more of the same, but more of the same. But speaking of Ronaldo Lopez, Jake, of course, he left Tuesday's game after only an inning of work. The velocity on the fastball was down. We saw the trainer, the pitching coach, Brian Sticker, pretty much everyone kind of coming in to make sure he was okay. And of course, the good thing is, such a warrior for him to be able to finish out that inning. But when you look at Lopez, is he kind of that guy you see as the one guy that the Braves can't afford to lose, especially at this point in the season?
I mean, I think that one guy would be Chris Sale, who we're going to touch on later. They cannot lose him, but but just thinking of the pitching staff as a whole, they can't lose anybody. I mean, that is what has kept them afloat this year is the pitching staff. So to lose anybody in that rotation almost seems like a death sentence for this team. So yeah, you can't afford to lose anybody on that pitching staff. But it's just, we talk about it. You talk about kind of the symmetry and Monday nights and Tuesday night's game. Tuesday night's game to me is kind of, you finally get a big win. You get a blowout win, what we've been looking for from this offense, and you can't even enjoy it because you're so worried about what happens to Ronaldo Lopez. And it's like, that is the 2024 season to me. It's just, we cannot enjoy anything because even when you get a good win, you're having to deal with an injury to a guy that, like we've talked about, you just can't afford to lose at this time of the year. And it's been pain after pain this season for Braves fans having to deal with all these injuries. And again, here you are, you finally get that big win against a team that you should be beating up on. And we weren't even really talking about it on the postcast last night. We had to cover Ronaldo Lopez and what is his future this year with the team.
And honestly, Jake, it was all the talk everywhere because last night I had to cover an Atlanta Dream game and their PR manager. And of course, I'm watching on the side, watching the Dream game, watching the Braves game. And their PR guy came over to me and he was like, Ronaldo Lopez. And I was like, damn, so you're right. That's where we are right now for the Braves, where literally as excited as we were, and even listening to some of the post-game commentary, everything was more about Ronaldo Lopez as opposed to a blowout win that we would have expected to see from this team. So for you, Jarvis, when you look at what Ronaldo Lopez was able to do, also, of course, Chris Sale, but when you kind of look at him, who's that one guy for you who you're saying, man, with everything that's happened, this is still that guy that we can't afford to see him go down?
I'm with Jay. Nobody on the pitching staff. I'm talking about from pitching starters, bullpen, closers, Raisel Iglesias. Like, he's a guy that we've talked about, on this show that we feel like we don't talk about enough because he's just been absolutely lights out, like ridiculous, unbelievable, specifically, especially in like extra inning games, where the Braves are the best team in Major League Baseball, has the most wins by a few actually. So for when you think about it from that standpoint, I feel like the Braves can't lose anyone. And for Ronaldo Lopez to have the issue coming out of the All-Star break, right? He was down for a minute, and then he came back, and he got better when he came back. He had like a 1.98 ERA, and he was hovering around 2 before he got hurt. So when you think about it from that aspect, it's just like, man, this dude has been so good. A guy that hadn't been a full-time starter since 2019. And when you think about, that's one of those Alex Anthopoulos gems that we always talk about, right? Coming into the season. Then Chris Sale is just out of worldly, from what he's been doing. So yeah, I feel like they can't lose anyone. They can't afford to lose anyone specifically on this pitching staff because, like Jake said, that has carried them, and also being really good in extra innings as well.
And I'll make it a trifecta. For me, it's Chris Sale as well. Although I know you could make the case for Ronaldo Lopez because, like you said, second half of the season, once coming back from the IL, you've seen even a better Ronaldo Lopez. And who knows, he at least gives you, not that you want to use him in any place but a starter, but he has that kind of experience where he does have the ability to do other things. But I also want to give a shout out to and say that as my kind of runner up, if you will, I say the bullpen, because man, you just got to give them love for what they were able to do
Jesse
when
Chavez,
Lopez went down.
50
Yeah, I
years
mean,
old
it's just
pitcher.
amazing. Jesse Chavez with 3 scoreless innings. John
Yep.
Brebbia did the same. Luke Jackson with 2 scoreless frames. I mean, I think that's important to say as well, like you said, when you look at the picture overall, Jake. But let's look at the flip side. What if, and we don't know at this time of this recording what's going to happen with Lopez, but let's just say that he has to go on IL, or even if they just kind of give him some type of extended rest. And I know sometimes they've given him an extra days, but if they had to go without him, who would you look to see maybe the Braves giving the call up to?
I think Ian Anderson is the obvious choice. It's a guy
Yeah.
he's been there before. He's done that, in the postseason. He's been one of the better postseason pitchers for the Braves over the last several years. And he also pitched on Tuesday, so he would be in line to take Ronaldo Lopez's spot. So I think he is the obvious candidate to come back up. Obviously, you could look to a Bryce Elder or an AJ Smith-Shawver, who both struck out 11 guys their last time out. But I think Ian Anderson would be the choice. He's pitched pretty well, still struggling with the walks, but that's something that he's always struggled with, and he's still managed to pitch well. So he's going to have some of those games where he is going to struggle with the walks, maybe not go as deep, but just with his experience and the fact that he has pitched pretty well in the second half of the season coming back from injury, I think he'd be the next guy up.
Yeah, I could say the same. Like you said, a really solid start in Gwinnett Tuesday, 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run. And like you said, just 3 bases on balls this time and 6 strikeouts for Ian Anderson. Now, the Braves are still fighting for their playoff lives right now. We'll get into it in Going Deep. This episode of our Atlanta Baseball Party is brought to you by Game Time. Now, Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets, which is so cool because, as we know, anybody got time for that. So Game Time allows you to get your time back. Also, they have some really cool features like seat views, get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy, and a lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference, and your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry with Game Time ticket coverage. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Now download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Now, terms do apply, but again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today, because what time is it? It's game time. All right, so Jarvis, it's safe to say that the Braves have had, okay, we'll call it a disappointing season, right? But we know it's been up and down, mostly because of the injuries, but also the hitting droughts. And yet and still, they're in the wild card conversation, albeit a tough go. But 17 games left to make up ground on the Mets. Maybe even the Padres and D-backs, kind of an outside chance. But for you, as far as what you can see now, do the Braves make the playoffs?
I don't know. I mean, to be honest with you, like I want to believe that, right? Because especially like, and we've been going through this throughout the entire season, T, whether it be on Atlanta Baseball Party or Atlanta Sports Party. When it comes to the Braves, Jake, I said to myself, I was like, I will not ask the question or have a conversation around have the Braves turned it around, and are they going to find? Have they finally figured it out? I said I refuse to talk about that. So for me right now, looking at the playoffs, I don't think they're going to turn it around. We're not going to see a consistent team at the plate. We're not going to see that. We're going to see a consistent team on the mound and pray and hope and whatever you want to, whoever God you pray to, and say, hey, can we get 3 runs tonight? We're good. So for me, I just don't know. I just don't know if they're going to be able to do it. And then, of course, it doesn't help that Ronaldo Lopez, obviously, at the time of his recording, he hadn't had his MRI just yet. So we don't know what that looks like. Thankfully, he said he feels like it's going to be a day-to-day thing after the game. So we'll see. Hopefully that's the case. But it's just been one of those seasons where you just look at it from standpoint of like, okay, I feel like I can't get too upset if they don't make the playoffs.
Yeah. Now, Jake, it's interesting because, you could sit on the fence like Jarvis, or you could give us a yes or no if you would like. But ultimately speaking, oddly enough, the
Sorry.
Braves has the easiest strength of schedule, the easiest schedule in these 17 remaining games when you compare their schedule, particularly to the Mets, but even to the D-backs and the Padres for that matter. And you might sneakily get maybe an Ozzy Albies back. If you do any of those things factor in to how you think their chances stand for them to get into the postseason?
Coming into the month, I thought the Braves had a great chance of getting into the postseason because of the schedule that they had. They had this 9-game stretch which ends with the Nationals on Wednesday against teams below 500. And I said, if you can go 7-2 in that stretch, great opportunity to kind of create some separation and hopefully, add on some wins. Well, they have to win on Wednesday just to go 6-3 in this stretch. So I don't feel like they've taken advantage as much of that schedule as they could have. And plus the other teams around them have won as well. So, even despite that they won 2 of those series and, obviously lost to the Reds and got a chance to sweep this 2-game set with the Nationals, you haven't really added into the standings or gone up in the standings. You're tied for the last playoff spot going into today on Wednesday. So what I thought would be a big advantage for them coming into the month hasn't turned out to be that. And so now you hear in the middle of the month or almost middle of the month, and the second half of the schedule in this month is harder because you're about to face 4 against the Dodgers, who, look, if you can get a split out of that, I think that would be fantastic. Sure. And then you end the regular season with 3 against the Mets, who are playing great baseball and who you're battling with, and 3 against the Royals, who are a really good team in themselves. So yeah, coming into the month, I felt very good about the team's chances of getting into a postseason because of their schedule. But I don't feel like they've taken advantage of that. And the other teams that they're battling against, they've taken advantage of their schedule and they have continued to win games that has prevented the Braves from getting some separation in that. So after the Monday game was where I finally said, okay, I'm not sure that I believe this team is going to get in the postseason anymore, just because I cannot have any faith in this offense to just score enough for this team to win. And I think the question that you have on the rundown here, is this a playoff team?
Yeah.
I kind of have to sit on the fence like Jarvis did, because this rotation, this pitching staff, it is a World Series type of pitching staff. It is. That pitching staff could win a World Series, but I have no confidence in this offense to score consistently enough to even get this team to the postseason, to have them to get an opportunity for this pitching staff to win a World Series.
Yeah, and when you kind of look at the odds out there, that's kind of what they're saying as well. Like even though the back half of I think it's like in totality, the September schedule was like the easiest schedule amongst the wild card contenders in the National League, but they're still giving the Braves that kind of nod against the Mets, but it's probably because it's the Mets, right? And the Mets always met in some way, shape, or form.
Right? I think
exactly. As opposed to the Braves being good enough from an offensive perspective, it's more their pitching, and it's also because odds makers probably expect the Mets to Met at some point, which would allow the Braves to kind of get that third spot. But yeah, we shall see. And listen, Jake, JD, the kind of questions sitting on the fence, the frustration you have, it's not unfounded, because Chipper Jones also kind of has the same. He was on Corey Kluber's podcast discussing the Braves season overall and had these words to say, quote, "It's hard to watch. I don't watch as much as I want to because I find myself throwing my flip-flops at the TV." So, guys, does Chipper embody really what that Braves fan base is feeling right now?
Yeah, I would say I actually talked about this earlier on Locked On Braves podcast earlier this week. I asked fans, what are you watching when you watch this team? Like, who do you get excited about to come to the plate? And, almost everybody said, I don't. I enjoy watching this pitching staff, but there's really nobody on the offensive side that I can get excited about. And it was very interesting to me when I was at the game on Sunday and I look around the stadium, probably 95% of the jerseys I see are either Acuna, Riley, or Ozzy. Those are your most exciting players to watch, and those are guys that you don't have right now. So I can understand where Chipper's coming from, and I think a lot of Braves fans are feeling that. This team, this offense in particular, it's borderline unwatchable. It's just that bad. The at-bats are not competitive. Like, I went to the game on Sunday. They ended up winning in extra innings, and that was exciting. But for 7-8 innings of that game, it was just 3 up, 3 down, and it's just like nothing competitive at the plate. So yeah, I think a lot of fans would agree with what Chipper's saying.
Yeah.
And for me, I feel like, just seeking and searching for something, because I'm a hopeless romantic when it comes to the Atlanta Braves, because baseball was my first sport. I just love, watching the Braves in the 90s, with the 14 straight division championships. So for me, it's like I'm looking for something to get excited about, right? Like Michael Harris. Oh, he coming back. Yeah, let's go, Mike. Lead off, Mike. Oh, okay. Oh, now you're trying to start to come around. All right, okay. So he's good. Jorge Soler. Yeah. Jorge Soler got the hitting the home runs, but that was just against the Rockies. And take out that Rocky series, he ain't done jack since he been here. His batting average starts with a 1. So that kind of lets you know, it gives you a peek into like just the up and down roller coaster ride this season has been. And then I feel like Chipper, like Jake mentioned, Chipper he just laid it out. It's just like, man, this is just frustrating. It's frustrating to watch. And for me, I feel like it's not only like the bigger issue, I feel, and I agree wholeheartedly with Chipper when he was talking about how guys would rather hit 40 home runs than get 100 RBIs. And when you think about manufacturing runs, just the old school style of baseball, man, I just miss that. I just miss that, because, and you talk about Alex Anthopoulos, that is the Braves philosophy right now, and the Braves aren't alone. It's a lot of teams like that, like Jake and I talked about before we got started. A lot of teams that's their philosophy. Hey, hit home runs, get on base, and we don't care about guys who hitting for average. And that's truly unfortunate, because I feel like I put that on like Tony Gwynn is outside of any Braves players, it was my favorite player to watch, because pitchers just couldn't get balls by him. He would just wait for his pitch. If you weren't gonna give him anything to pitch, he's just gonna sit there and wait for it. And either you're gonna walk him, or he's gonna get that little single, put a spread over there in the left field somewhere. So yeah, for me, I feel like Chipper put everything in perspective, and it just really kind of speaks to where the game is right now, and there's no turning back, I don't feel.
Yeah, for me, the Braves get to the postseason, meh. The Braves don't get to the postseason, meh. It's all the same. Chris Sale, however, can do no wrong, and that's the one that kind of probably gives us joy and makes us happy. So we'll talk about Chris Sale in the stretch. This episode of our Atlanta Baseball Party is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members, and it's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Now, the cool thing about it as well is it's the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, so that your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks, your picks are still alive. Now, Prize Picks also puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When your picks hit, you get money in as quick as 15 minutes, which is pretty darn cool. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. So now there's been plenty of conversation, right, about Chris Sale's performance. We've talked about it in this show. Obviously, in his first season with the Braves, it's just been lights out. But he also found out Monday that he's a finalist for the Roberto Clemente Award, which, of course, is given to players who make a positive impact not only on the field, but off the field as well. So for you, Jake, with all the talk that we've had about just an amazing season that Chris Sale has had this year with the Braves, how excited are you and how appreciative are you that he's still taking the time to do the things that he's doing off the field?
That's great. I mean, and that's what's so great about sports in general, not just baseball. When you see guys who are, at the end of the day, they're normal people like you and me, but they've been elevated to a certain status. notoriety in our country and our nation, where they have gotten a platform where they can give back and do things for the community and for other people. And I mean, that's what you love to see. That's what it's all about. And look, while we're going to sit here and say, we love this player for what they do on the field, you do more like that, I think it elevates your fandom of them. It makes you like them even more. It's why I think, Freddie Freeman's always going to be one of my favorite players. It's not just because of what he did on the field and how he helped the Braves, win a World Series, won an MVP here. He was just that guy in the community that was always giving back and doing things. And it's just, when you do that, first of all, that's just great. And I feel like that's what you should do when you've been given that status, and then see players, be able to do that and also performing on the field. It just makes it even more special for a fan.
Yeah. And Jarvis, you have to love what we heard about Chris, and some of the things we kind of already knew, but as you read more about it, just his commitment to some kids fighting cancer is a serious thing. And some of the other things that he's doing, just amazing in the community.
Yeah, he's just, and the thing about Chris is, I remember when, he broke the record for, left-handed pitcher, getting to the 200 strikeouts, being the first guy, left-handed pitcher for the Braves to do that. He was just like, yeah, man, I'm trying to win the World Series. I don't really care about all that. And then when you see his response to the Roberto Clemente Award, being nominated for that, it was different. It's just different. He was just like, man, this is great. This is cool. This is something that, and you think about, and a lot of times, like Jake mentioned, like the beauty of sports is once you get players to get nominated and get nominated for or win awards like these, you kind of get a peek into who they are as a person, like what motivates them. And you understand that we found out that, I think his grandmother dealt with ALS. So that's a passion project for him. So for me, I love to hear these type of stories. And for Chris Sale, a guy who's battled a lot, with injuries and everything on the field, and come to the Braves where nobody really had any expectations for him coming in. Yeah. I know that's when I was like, oh yeah, he's gonna be a Cy Young candidate this year. Yeah, no, I don't think anyone was saying that before. For him to come in like he did and be able have the Triple Crown like right there in his hands, as the season winds down for a pitcher, and to be nominated for an award like this, and we kind of get a peek into who he is as a person. I absolutely love it, and like Jay mentioned, I'm more of a fan now than I was.
Yeah, it's like it might be the year Chris Sale season, because like you said, a Cy Young favorite, maybe comeback player of the year front runner, and of course now this. And when you look back at the Braves history, you've got 3 Clemente Award winners. 2 of them were pitchers, but you really haven't seen anybody win that award since 2005. So it'd be really, really nice to kind of get that Clemente Award back here with the Braves. But of course, sidebar, be nice to get a Cy Young back here with the Braves, because that's been since 98. But we will go not here nor there. Now, the Braves have a sweep to go after tonight, Jake, and hopefully get that win to keep themselves in that conversation for the final wild card spot. What do they need to do to get the winner of the Nats tonight?
Score 12 runs again would be nice. That would obviously help. But yeah, I mean, you got Max Fried on the mound, and the beauty, and you touched on it on Tuesday's win, is you didn't have to use a lot of your best bullpen arms. So you go into this game with Max Fried on the mound with a fully rested, bullpen that you have your back end guys, and you have the off day on Thursday. So you're going to have your best pitchers ready to go in this one. It's just, what offense are you going to get? And look, all these games going forward are must win for the Atlanta Braves. True. But this one particularly is, again, it's the last game in that 9-game stretch I talked about where you're facing teams below 500. You do get the off day Thursday, but then you got 4 with the Dodgers. So this feels like it is a must win game. You have to take advantage of this opportunity. Like I said, with one of your best pitchers on the mound and Fried, your bullpen rested and ready to go the off day on Thursday. This feels like one of those games you have to win. And unfortunately this year, it feels like these are the games that the Braves just lose for whatever reason.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the only thing that made me feel a little encouraged, Jake, was I always say they are a clusterfuffle when it comes to that getaway game that's like a businessman special. So when I saw that there was a late first pitch, I was like, they got a shot. But for you, Jarvis, what do you think they need to do to win? What else besides score runs?
Yeah, scoring runs, and I think that Michael Harris continued to hey, he got a little pop in his bat now. He's finding his stroke. 2 home runs last night. I know one of them was a softball pitch, but hey, he was able to. It was so funny because watching it on Tuesday night, it was kind of like he had a glitch. Like he was like almost about to get ready to swing, but then he kind of reset really quickly, and then he just he just swung through. I was just like, oh man, that was a nice little adjustment there, my friend. Mid pitch. So for me, I feel like if he can set the table with this lineup, hey, and get the party started, like Ronald Clemente used to do, because hey, he can start it off with a home run, or he can start it off with a single and take second and third and be in scoring position with the pop fly. So I feel like, if Michael Harris can kind of give us that remnants of nephew Ronnie, I feel like this will be a game that the Braves can definitely take, especially with Max Fried on the mound.
Oh yeah, if Max Fried does Max Fried things, we're all good because of course the last outing, 7 innings of run ball, and it's been since May that he pitched against the Nats. But hey, 8 scoreless innings, you can't be mad at 6 Ks. And like you guys said, be careful with scoring a lot, but also don't let the Nats score first. Seems like granted, we know what the Braves record is when teams score first. 22-38. Also, don't get in a tight game, 16-22. But with the Nats, obviously, I think they're ahead in the season series. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those 7 wins that they got, they scored first. So Braves hit early, hit often, and the odds will be in your favor. Thanks to our everydayers for making the Atlanta Baseball Party your first listen of the day. Be sure to stop by Locked On Braves for your second listen, and be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're also free and available wherever you download your podcasts. We'll see you on the Atlanta Sports Party Thursday.